Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be here again. In this beautiful temple in front of the golden stupa shining with the sun, and to meet many of my old friends. I think you were there when I first came here, no? 94, 93, 94. And so this text, I don't know if it was taught here before, maybe, because it's quite a popular text, important text. And I've been teaching this several times during last many years. I've been traveling in Europe last 30 years now, and I've been speaking all the time. And my pebbles are everywhere. And somebody transcribed one of my teachings on this text and edited and made into a book. So that's this book. It's published as, what is it called?
It's called Meeting Challenges.
Meeting Challenges. They found out, this is my publication, Bodhicaya publication. And they said that all those books which has some kind of titles with like challenges or some kind of those things are selling very well. There was one book called Purity, or they don't sell at all. Maybe lots of challenges going on in the world nowadays, and of course life is always a challenge, and samsara has lots of challenges. And this text was written by third Tulku Rinpoche. He was Tulku was one of the students of great Nyingma master, one of the greatest Nyingma masters, and also he was a teacher to the Padu Rinpoche, the first Tulku Rinpoche. And This is the third Dotrup-Chin. And third Dotrup-Chin was a very great scholar also, who, wrote many books, and he is so much appreciated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama also. His Holiness Dalai Lama very often quotes him and praises him as one of the most great scholars of Tibet. His commentaries on the Guhe Garbha Tantras and things like that have really touched him deeply. So he always tries to meet the fourth Dotrup Rinpoche, who lives in Sikkim, and he is now 94 or something like that. But he always avoids Dalai Lama. Because he says that if he meets His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he's going to ask him to give him a teaching. And he says he does not dare to give any teaching to Dalai Lama. So that's why he is avoiding him. Anyway, so this text is not only facing the challenges or meeting the challenges, but it's about bringing to the path, Sidhu Lamchir. The actual Tibetan title for the book is called Sidhu Lamchir. Means bringing the happiness and suffering to the path. Meaning how to make. It's not just kind of a way of trying to get rid of problems or sufferings, or kind of try to avoid the problems and difficulties and things like that. It is on how to bring it to the path, how to make it into a practice, how to use it as a practice. That's what we mean by bringing to the path. In other words, I think this is the translation of this text by one Adam. He has translated it as transforming suffering and happiness. So I like this, transforming suffering and happiness. I'm not sure which translation I have followed there, but this is in the this particular text translation of the root text is on internet. If you want to find it, you can go to Lotsawa House and you can download free. So I'll go through it a little bit briefly, because I think I would not like too much to give a talk, a speech. I would very much like to discuss, and I think it would be more useful if we, discussed this things together, and also, how you feel about it, and how we, deal with things in a more kind of practical and experiential way. So to start with, it, as all text, it also starts with one stanza of homage. I will not go to the Tibetan because I don't think many of you understand Tibetan. Is there anybody who understands Tibetan here except Tsomo? Oh yes. Anyway, you can read it in Tibetan. I pay homage to noble Avalokiteshvara, recalling his qualities. Forever joyful at the happiness of others, and plunged into sorrow whenever they suffer. You have fully realized great compassion with all its qualities, and abide without a care for your own happiness or suffering. So this is homage to Avalokiteshvara. I don't think I need to comment too much on this. But I think I need to say one thing here, because when we are talking about great bodhisattvas and their compassion, then sometimes we say that they are very concerned about the suffering of others and are not concerned about the suffering of themselves. When you say these things, I think sometimes people seem to get a wrong message that if you try to be compassionate, and if you try to generate compassion, then you should not care for yourself, or you should not, try to be kind or compassionate to yourself. And some people told me that that's what it means. Compassion means not look after yourself, not care for yourself, only care for others. And kind of a little bit neglect to look after your own well-being. I don't think that's the understanding here. The understanding here is that when you are a great bodhisattva, like Avalokiteshvara, who has not only developed or awakened his compassion, but also his wisdom. And if somebody has awakened both compassion and wisdom together, then that person does not need to feel or generate or, have to try to be kind or to feel, to look after his or her own welfare at all. Because he has already experienced and understood the selflessness nature of himself and have completely understood the ultimate bodhicitta. So therefore, they don't have to, look after themselves because they have no longer any problem for themselves. That does not therefore mean that if we are compassionate, we cannot or should not be kind to ourselves or should not be looking our own welfare. I think if we, at our stage, when we are a kind of ordinary samsaric beings, then, there is nothing wrong that I have to wish well for myself. Actually, if I don't wish well for myself, there is no, I would not even know that others need to be, I have to wish well for others, because if I don't have to feel that I want to be free from suffering and I want to be happy and well and, all good things, then I don't know that I need to, others will wish that also. And so my basis of compassion is that because I know that I don't want to suffer, because I know that I want to have happiness, so therefore I know that everybody wants that, therefore I wish that everybody has that. So that's the understanding. So therefore, I think we need to, compassion to yourself is nothing wrong. But compassion to yourself alone is not enough. I think that's the idea. And also, usually, many people ask me, how do you generate compassion to yourself? How do you bring compassion to yourself? And where is the teaching in Buddhism on how to generate compassion for yourself? I have not found any special sutra or any special kind of extensive teaching by the Buddha on specifically like how to generate compassion to yourself. Neither I have found any extensive writing by Indian masters or Tibetan masters as well on how to generate compassion to yourself. But I think it was something in the East, at least, something that was very, what can you say, taken for granted. In my about 25 years of teaching in India to Tibetan and Himalayan and some Indian people, mostly young people, but those people, nobody ever asked me a question on how do I generate compassion to myself. When I came to Europe, almost at every session, somebody asked this question. And I've been thinking a lot about that. And I think, taking refuge is basically compassion to yourself. Taking refuge is based on compassion to yourself, I think. Because there I say, of course not just for yourself, but basically yourself. Because we say that, I don't want to have suffering continuously, life after life. So in this samsara, there's lots of suffering, lots of problems, which we cannot solve just doing things outside. Our problems, there are lots of problems, and there are lots of sufferings that we cannot just control by doing something. Like in case of Buddha, he saw birth, old age, sickness, death of ourselves, and also, loss, getting something that I don't want, not getting something that I want to get. All these things are continuously happening, and I cannot totally get rid of all of them. So, does that mean that I cannot be free from suffering? I cannot have any chance of dealing with these problems and pain and difficulties? That's where the whole, search of the Buddha began. That there should be another way, and that's where all the path of spiritual path. I think actually every spiritual path is based on that. It's not just trying to make things better, try to get something or get rid of something or create a condition or create some kind of a situation is important, is good, is useful, but that does not necessarily completely solve our problem. So what we need to do is have to find something else. That's like how to exchange, how to transform our own experience. How to transform our own experience, how to change the way I experience everything. If I can do that, that is because that's my own way of being. So therefore that could change and solve my suffering, problem, pain. And that is something that I can do myself because it's in me. that it's about myself. So therefore, that could be the solution, and that's what the Buddha's finding is also. By transforming myself, then that's the solution. So, taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is all about that. I want to free myself from, these continuous problems and difficulties and suffering of life. So therefore, I need to do something. I need to transform myself, and I need therefore to, awaken my own Buddha nature. I need to develop my own positive qualities. I need to awaken my own wisdom, compassion, and positive qualities. I need to transform myself, and I would like to do that. I would work on that. Basically, taking refuge in the Buddha is about that. I want to transform myself. I want to free myself from the causes of suffering. I want to bring lasting peace and happiness to myself. And that's called enlightenment. And that's what I want to do. So I wish the best for myself. That's compassion to myself, no? So in order to do that, I must learn how to do that. That's Dharma. And must use those instructions and methods on myself so that I can transform. So in order to do that, I must take the examples and teachings and influences from others who are in the process of doing that or have done that. And that's why I must take refuge in the Sangha. So therefore, taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is a practical way of being compassionate to myself. Yeah? So I think it's very important to understand this, that taking refuge is basically generating compassion to yourself, because it's trying to wish the best for myself and trying to do the best for myself by totally transforming myself. You can't wish better than that for yourself, no? So this is, I think very important. And then not only to yourself, then comes, then refuge also, like a little bit like, then you say, okay, I need this for myself, but not only myself, I need to do this for myself also in order to help other beings who are suffering in the same way. And then it goes into bodhicitta, then it goes to compassion. So it goes together. Yeah? So this, I think, I just needed to mention, because sometimes because of this misunderstanding or this vacuum of understanding. Now it says, I'm going to put down here a partial instruction on how to use both happiness and suffering as the path to enlightenment. This is indispensable for leading a spiritual life, a most needed tool of the noble ones, and quite the most priceless teaching in the world. So this is, of course there is a whole, the Buddhism is about whole teaching about, kind of lots of different methods and different instructions and many different techniques and all these things. So therefore, this is just one part, so that's why partial instruction. But this is important Because, our main intention, our main purpose of, practicing anything, any path, anything that we do is actually trying to either get something that's good for us or get rid of something that's not good for us. Why are we so busy all the time? We are busy all the time for nothing. It's not like that. We are busy for something. And something what? Either trying to get something that might be good for me, or trying to get rid of something that's not good for us. No? What else? Or trying to do something good for others, or trying to get rid of something that's not good for others. Otherwise, we are not. There's no need to be busy. We can have a nice nap. So there are two parts to it. One, how to use suffering as the path, and two, how to use happiness as the path. Each one is approached firstly through relative truth and then through absolute truth. First, we discuss how to use suffering as the path, because we have no problem finding them. Suffering is there all the time. Problems everybody has all the time. So therefore, it is there, and so we need to use that. Now, how to use suffering as path? Path means path to enlightenment, path to, to bring lasting peace and happiness, if you want to say that, if you like, through relative truth first. Whenever we are harmed by sentient beings or anything else, if we make a habit out of perceiving only the suffering, then when even the smallest problem comes up, it will cause enormous anguish in our mind. This is because the nature of any perception or idea, be it happiness or sorrow, is to grow stronger and stronger the more we become accustomed to it. So as the strength of this pattern gradually builds up, before long we will find that just about everything we perceive becomes a cause for actually attracting unhappiness towards us, and happiness will never get a chance. So like, if we are too much like if we're too sensitive to trouble, like if I'm too sensitive about like whether people like me or not like me, I think that people have to like me. People have to be very, very like me, and if they don't like me, I'm very unhappy. then you become so obsessed with it. The more you are, everybody should like me. If people don't like me, I'm very unhappy. That, I once met one artist, performer, a theater, and he said that, every time I go on the stage, I have to vomit, he said, because I'm so scared that people will not clap enough. And if everybody claps, then I feel okay. If people don't clap that much, I feel so bad, so hurt. It's like that, sometimes, people are looking so much for, how they are like, these people, is doing like this. I think I told, maybe I should not tell these things, because these days they are always putting every teaching I make on the internet. I don't know. Should I? It's my life, it's a history, but, once I had a problem with the Queen Mother of Sikkim when I was very young. We used to go to see the king to offer him, kata on his birthday every year. I remember this. It used to be 4th of April. And everybody went there, so I also went. I was actually an employee. I was working almost directly under the Queen, writing Tibetan textbooks. And one time I was going up with lots of other people, and then from up there, kind of quite a high hill, the Queen Mother was coming down. Maybe she already wished birthday. And some people around me was doing like this. And I told them, I was a little bit stupid. I'm still stupid, but got some experience now. And I told them that you are wasting your time doing this, because she would not see you from that far. And even if she sees that you are doing this, she will never recognize you, because it's quite far away. That was my mistake. And I didn't do this. And then after a few days, some people came and say, Queen Mother is very angry up with you. I said, it's not possible. She doesn't know me. I've never seen her. I never spoken to her. She never saw me. How can she be upset with me, because she doesn't know me? Another person comes and says, I think you should go and apologize, because, Queen Mother is very upset with you. I said, it's not possible. It's a mistake. Because Queen Mother, she doesn't know me. I'm nobody, And then my boss, that time he was like one of the secretaries, he told me that the Queen Mother is not happy with you. What happened? Then I found out that because I didn't do this, she got hurt. And she was saying, this Ringu Tulku, this young Lama, he's so arrogant. He's so arrogant. He should be, sent out? expelled from Sikkim. He should be expelled from Sikkim because he's so useless. He is actually first Kagyu, and then he became Nyingma, and then he became Sakya, and now he's becoming Geluk, because I was studying with, she knew everything about me. So then, since then, when I see from her, I just do like this, I don't know if it helped or not, but but luckily, anyway, that's not the point. I was not expert. I think people, if you are too much, about something, if you mind too much about something, or if you are, if you too much kind of, think about a problem, and again only that, then that you become so exceedingly kind of, to that you become very almost allergic to that, and any kind of, then you start to kind of feel that, somebody says something a little bit like something, I see it as a criticism of me, or, if somebody says, you have a nose. I have a nose. Why should you say that? I have a nose. Of course I have a nose. Like as if they are very kind of, even if you don't say that you have a bad nose, or, you have a big nose, or you have a ugly nose, or something like that. You just don't have to say anything. If you say you have a nose, and then, all your, thoughts about your kind of faults of your nose come into your mind, and then so these kind of things happens. So that's why he says, if you do not realize that it all depends on the way in which mind develops these habits, sometimes we have this habit of too much focusing on our problems and difficulties. I have a little problem, and then this is my problem. This is this is a problem. I have to solve this problem, and unless I solve this problem, I can't be relaxing. I can't be in peace. I can't be happy. Then even if it's a very small thing, that occupies your whole mind, and you kind of you cannot rest. You cannot most of the problems like too much anxiety, too much all these things come from there. That a little bit something, and that you kind of you are focusing so much. Your mind is so much. What can you say? Taking it, because if I'm just concentrate, or if I'm just focusing my mind on something, then that becomes big. That occupies the whole of my mind, and that becomes the most important thing, like the story of the princess with a long tail. You don't know the story? It's an interesting story. You want me to tell? I think you know it. Anyway, some people know, but maybe some people don't know. There was once a king, and the king and his queen had a very dear princess, and she was completely spoiled by them, giving everything she wants, and very, everything. And then once she had a little something, small kind of pimple in her eye, and she was so worried about it. She was touching it all the time. So it became worse and worse. And then they called doctors, but doctors couldn't do anything because she was touching it too much. And then the king made an announcement that if anybody can cure this eye, the problem of the eye of the princess, I will give her in marriage to him and give half of my empire, kingdom. So, but if he cannot, he will be beheaded. So, I don't know how many came, maybe not many. Then there was one village guy, and he said, I will go and cure the princess. So everybody told him, no, you should not do it. You are not even a doctor. You don't know anything about this, and you are sure to be beheaded. Don't go. He said, no, I know how to do it. I'll go. So he went, and he said, I'll cure the princess. And then they warned him, if you don't do it, we will kill you. He says, okay, I don't mind. I know how to do it. So he went to see the princess, and then he took her pulse, and then his face was getting really serious, bad, Not good, not good, very bad. And everybody got more and more worried. The king was there, queen was there, princess was there. What's happened? What happened? Is it really that bad? He says, I can't tell you. It's not possible to tell you. No, not about the eye. That I can do, but the other one. He says, what other problem is there? I can't tell you. If I tell you, you will punish me. No, we promise you that we will not punish you. No, I think I can't tell you. It's too serious. It's too serious. And then afterwards, they made promise after promise that they will not punish him. If he told this story, what was wrong with her. Then he said, well, the eye problem is a very simple problem. I can get rid of it very quickly. But there is another problem, which is very serious. The problem is that the princess is going to grow a tail. And this tail is going to be 9 pentams long. And once it grows, nobody can do anything. It will grow. Then what you have to do? Only one thing you can do is that when it first come out, the moment it come out, if I know, then I can put a moksha on it, and then it will stop. But it has to be exactly the moment it comes out. So they say, okay, then. Now he just puts some ointment on his eyes or something like that. But she says that's not. Now she's always touching her. Continuously, And 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed. And then after about 7 days, he comes and looks at the princess and says, your eyes is cured now. She says, yes, my eye is cured, but what about my tail? And then he says again, your eye is completely normal now. There's nothing left. Yes, but what about my tail? Then he said, actually, I've come here to cure your eyes, not your tail. Yes, but what about tail? He says, there's no tail coming. Nobody, no human being has a tail. It's not a problem. Your eye is the problem. You are so much focused on your eye problem that you cannot stop touching it, and that's why it never heals. So you are too much concentrated on your eye, little problem. That's why I had to create a bigger problem so that your concentration goes somewhere else. So he actually became the husband of the, because he was very clever also. So it's like that, when we are focusing on something, we focus too much, and then if that that doesn't solve the problem, that makes our mind more prone to the problem, and then our minds become so full of that problem that it becomes like there's nothing but that problem. That problem totally overwhelms us. That's why many people get into one problem. When I first came here, not even when I first came here, now also, sometimes, people come and say, I can't see the end of the tunnel, I've lost my job, I've lost my boyfriend, I'm going to kill myself now because there's nothing to live for. In my mind, I think she got rid of her problem. Boyfriend, it's a great radiance, but I don't dare to say it. I say, oh, that's really bad. That's really bad. But if you want to kill yourself, you can kill any time, there's no hurry. So maybe you should go to India first and have a look. Maybe you'll die there by yourself. Why don't you just make a journey to India? It's an interesting country. And then she started to say, I have no money. I say, don't worry about money. You can make a loan. After you are dead, you don't have to pay back. Don't tell me that you have no money. And sometimes they go. Sometimes they go to India or somewhere else, And when they go to India, they come back totally happy. And I say, what happened? I say, oh, I nearly died, Delhi belly. They went to India, had all kinds of, and they nearly died. They still have problem, but they are very happy. But you look very happy. Oh yes, I'm so happy, because they have seen other things. They were so, when you are only focused on your problem, your job, or something like that, your boyfriend, and that becomes the whole problem, and that is everything. But if you can see something else, if you can be a little bit distanced, if you can, look around, that problem is still there, but that doesn't become the whole thing, So this, we always have this kind of too much focus on something, and then that becomes, everything. And that's why it is said like this, if we do not realize that it all depends on the way in which mind develops this habit, and instead we put the blame on external objects and situations alone, the flames of suffering, negative karma, aggression, and so on will spread like wildfire without end. This is what is called all appearance arising as enemies. Then it can be that everything can become like something not nice, something like your enemy, something, something problem, you feel like, everybody is like blaming you, everybody is somebody not your friend, or everybody is, kind of seemingly not liking you, or something like that, because your mind is focusing on, I should not be blamed, I should not be, things like that. So we should arrive at a very precise understanding that the whole reason why sentient beings in this degenerate age are plagued by so much suffering is because they have such feeble powers of discernment. So not to be hurt by the obstacles created by enemies, illness, or harmful influence does not mean to say that things like sickness can be driven away, that they will never occur again. Rather, it simply means that they will not be able to obstruct us from practicing on the path. We need to learn how to deal with our problems, how to face our problems, how to kind of jump over our problems and obstacles and things like that. Even if there are problems, we need to learn how to live happily, joyfully, purposefully, kindly. If we are only thinking that after clearing all our problems and difficulties and obstacles and negative things, then I'm going to live happily after. That's never going to happen. That's only in the stories, in the children's stories, that then after they live happily ever after, it's not in the life. Life is about problems after problems after problems, I don't want to say that life is only problems. It's not a good way to say. I want to say life is about solving problems after problems after problems. So therefore, it's not, the more you understand this, the more we understand that problems happen all the time. Difficulties will be there all the time. Undesirable things all the time happen. Things that we want not necessarily always happen. This is normal. This is life. Whether problems come or not come, we need to live our life the best we can. We need to live our life happily, joyfully, kindly, peacefully, even if there are lots of problems or even if there is no problems. we need to live life joyfully and meaningfully, even if, those problems are solved or those problems are not solved, So therefore, I need to be not so much, it's not so much to look forward to some time when there is absolutely no problem. If I look forward to something, it's all the problems solved, everything is in order, everything is completely perfect, then only I will enjoy my life. That's not possible, it's not possible. So therefore, problems there. At the same time, I have to live nicely, enjoyably, meaningfully, positively, I can't say that I have a problem now, so therefore I cannot live happily or joyfully, or I cannot relax because I have one problem. If I cannot relax because I have one problem, then I can never ever relax, because there will always be some problem. Yeah? This understanding is a very important thing. This understanding is one of the most fundamental way of dealing with problems. And then in order for this to happen, we need first to get rid of the attitude of being entirely unwilling to face any suffering ourselves. And second, to cultivate the attitude of actually being joyful when suffering arises. The first is, the more we are afraid of suffering or afraid of problems, the more we suffer because of this problem. This is very bad, this is very bad, this shouldn't. The more we have aversion, the more we have afraid, the more we have fear, the more we have of some problems or difficulties or pain or whatever, the more we have, what can you say? We have a stronger effect of that on us. We have more worries, we have more anguish, we have more, more fear, more, what can I say? More overwhelming, and then we are totally taken over by these problems. If you say problems are something that's normal, that's life, that's everybody has. I think we need to understand this, that we have to think first, who in this world has no problem, no suffering, no pain? Who in this world has nothing? Whether you think about very rich people, very powerful people, very famous people, great people, low people, poor people, who is there? Everybody has their problems. It's like how Buddha taught this Gautami, about her lost son, I think you know this story, that, Gautami, she had son, and she had, she loved her son so much that when he died at the age of 8, she was totally, broken. She was totally unaccepting. And then she said, she was going from one person to another and saying, please revive my child, because I can't have her. I can't live with this, without my child. And then Buddha didn't say that he can't do anything. He just told her, you bring a handful of sesame seed from a family, nobody died. And then she went all over the city, and then she realized that there was no family where nobody died. Then she understood. It's one thing to understand intellectually, another thing to understand experientially. So because she understood this, then she was able to bury her child. And then she came back to Buddha. And then when Buddha says, where is your sesame seed? She said, I don't have sesame seed. I understood. I buried my child. Now give me teaching so that I will be able to work on my own suffering. So she became a nun, and she practiced so much that she became the first arhat, first woman arhat of the Buddha. So like that. So this way, we need to see this, that there is problem, there is suffering, there is pain, everybody is there, but that doesn't mean that we cannot or should not, live also without, meaningfully, happily, joyfully. We cannot have a time when absolutely no problem happens. And then secondly, when a problem comes, suffering comes, a negative comes, then we should, use that as, a way, how can I now, how can I use this problem not to be a kind of a hurdle for my living a good life, a meaningful life, a happy life. So we have to start with small things. We cannot start with a big problem where we are totally kind of bolted out. But we can start with a small problem. I don't know. What is small problem? My iPad going wrong, that's not a small problem. That's the whole world. Yes, my spectacle. That's how big. I always lose my spectacle. Not the whole thing, but one glass. I put it here, so glass falls off. And then I cannot read. That's less problem. I can deal with it, I think. Something like that, little problem comes. And then you say, okay, now I have this problem. Now I'll see how I will deal with this problem, without, becoming too kind of overwhelmed by that, or without losing my peace of mind or my, my kind of stability and things like that. And then I try. I can try many different things, I can try meditation, I can try, attitude, I can try, relaxation, I can try to think about something else, Sometimes meditation works also, because if you sit down, really relaxed, and not think about the past or the future, but just completely, being in the present moment, breathing out, breathing in, and just feel this totally present moment. After 5 minutes or so, if I can feel my mind totally calm and quite nice and quite peaceful and joyful. I still don't forget about my problem, but I am calm, I'm okay, it's okay. In this way, I have the problem, but that problem were not able to totally destroy my stability. Or I can do something else, like I can think about all the positive things that I have at this moment. I'm still healthy, I have so many friends, I'm in this beautiful country called Norway, and all kind of things, whatever good things I can think about in my life, I can think about them and appreciate that. And then I can say, there is a problem, but that problem is a small part of my whole life at this moment. So therefore, that cannot totally disturb my... I need to do something maybe, but that's... And also, there are many other things I can do, but when I do this, and like I can solve this problem, not solve the problem, but solve my own. Of course, that doesn't mean that I should not solve the problem. Of course, sometimes it's easier to go and fix my glass. I should do it anyway, but it should not disturb my mind. Yeah. So, if I can do that one time or for something, then I can do it next time. I can do it a little bigger problem and things like that. So when I am kind of looking for, like how do I, if there is a problem comes, oh, this is my opportunity to practice. This is an opportunity to practice my practice. Then after some time it kind of can become something that I almost kind of eagerly waiting for, like I am, what can you say, I can be happy almost, I can be excited to have a problem, because now this is an opportunity for me to exercise, work on, If you see a problem as something, an opportunity, actually it's no longer a problem, no? Because, you are looking forward to it, or you are, seeing it as an opportunity. I think maybe you have heard this story about this Zen master, There was a Zen master, and then one student came, who very kind of, what can you say, enthusiastic student. And he became his monk, and then he said, now you train me very hard, I'm ready for anything. Then he said, are you really sure? Yes, I'm ready for anything. Then he said, okay, in that case, then you will be, criticized, and you will be, what can you say, you will have to find somebody to insult you every day for 2 hours, and you have to pay for it. Insult is something very difficult for people to endure, no? Sometimes it's worse than lots of other problems. So here he had to get someone to insult him for 2 hours and then had to pay him. So he did that. He did that for several months. And then one day he went out to the town. And in that town there was a crazy person who was kind of hanging around in a kind of a crossroad and then insulting everybody, and everybody threw stones at him and beat him up, but he was crazy, so there was nothing he can do. So when he saw this monk coming, he started to insult him. And when he insulted him, this monk went and hugged him and says, "Thank you so much, thank you so much." He was taken aback and says, "Why are you thanking me? Nobody thanks me. Everybody throws stones at me and beats me up. Why are you so nice to me?" He says, "Because I had to pay for it for last several months." So, that's the training. Yeah, your mind he was training, so kind of to receive insults, and then even paying for it, so that it became something that is desirable, because you have to buy it. So this shows how much is our mind. Our mind is very, very strong. How we perceive things. So if there's a problem and we see it as an opportunity to practice something that we can, how do we transform ourselves? How do we use it? How do we overcome it? How do we, face it, as a challenge, as an opportunity? Then it doesn't become a problem anymore. It's already become something different, as an opportunity. So that's why this is important. So anyway, one thing before I stop, usually we don't want suffering. That's for everybody. Usually we want happiness. But the more we don't want suffering, that much suffering suffers us. The more we want happiness, that much, we are suffered because we don't have happiness, or we wish for happiness, and therefore we suffer. So it's a little bit strange, We want happiness, but in order to have happiness, we have to be less attached to happiness. We don't want suffering, but in order that we should not suffer so much, we should have less aversion to suffering. If we can manage that, then we can be more okay. This is something that people don't understand. It's very difficult for to understand, because of course I want happiness. Of course I don't want suffering. So sometimes people say, why should I not angry? Of course I will get angry. I should be angry because somebody says something bad about me. Okay, you can do that, but does it really make you happier? Does it really solve the problem? So that's why we need to, think properly. That, just recently somebody was asking me, whatever I do, I get lots of anger. He says, I get lots of anger, and I can't do anything about it. And I said, why you get angry? How you get angry? He says, I get angry when something I cannot move, something doesn't happen, doesn't change, doesn't become what I want. Then I get really, really angry. I said, okay, but by you getting angry, things become better? He says, no, of course not. But when you get angry, you feel good? He says, no, of course not. Then you feel more unhappy when you get upset and angry when things don't change? He said, yes, it's much worse. And I get really frustrated and much more suffer. I said, then maybe there is something you can do? He says, it's very difficult. I try my best. Then maybe there's nothing you can do. He says, there's sometimes nothing I can do. So then if there's nothing you can do, getting angry doesn't help. He says, not really. Then why you get angry? Because you make it worse. He says, yes, but that's what happens. Then I think this is when we have to think, that I get upset and angry when something doesn't change or something doesn't move. And then I think we have to think, what can I do now? Maybe I can just, try to do something else. Maybe something that, many times also this is also like that. Lots of times people have this thing. People always say that I'm stuck. I'm at I can't see the tunnel light on the other, light of the end of the tunnel. And many times when they say that, I remind them that are you looking at a tunnel or at a wall? Most of the time they say, maybe I'm looking at a wall. Then, if you're looking at a wall, how do you expect to see the end of the tunnel? People many times do this. They look at a wall knowingly that this is a wall, and then complain that they don't see the end of the tunnel. They cannot. They will never be able to see the end of the tunnel when they are not looking at a tunnel. Then what they have to do is actually not look at the wall. They have to go a little bit far away, or turn this way, or turn that way. Yeah? But they insist to look at the same wall, and then hope or get totally frustrated that they cannot see the end of the tunnel. So many times, the way we are kind of addicted, or we are trained, or we are, habituated to do things, we only do that, and so this is the thing. When you see you are in the wall, then you need to go back and look up and down, and then you see some light, not through this. So this is, I think, very important, that we need to remember. Just getting angry and upset is not going to make us change anything. The more upset, the more angry, the worse you create for yourself, and more problem you create with others also, because you get angry means you get angry somebody. And if you get angry somebody means usually you get angry at the person who is next to you. Would be your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend or children, or somebody, your friend or a Sangha member or something like that. And that wouldn't help anybody. Yeah? So therefore, this is something I think important. So I think we will stop here. And any questions or any comments or any stories or jokes? I really like jokes, and I don't think I've heard any Norwegian jokes. Do Norwegians have jokes? I've tried in Germany for last 25 years. He's coming.
I have a small story.
Okay.
About the most important person in my life, myself, which is an illustration of today's theme.
Okay.
That when I was a child, I was quite unhappy about going to school.
About what?
Going to school.
Okay.
I found school very boring, very uninteresting, and I focused very firmly on I will never be a teacher.
Okay.
So great focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also looked at my family, and my father was a psychologist, and his patients kept coming year after year after year after year, and I decided I shall never be a psychologist. Also very firm focus on that.
Okay.
And here I sit as a yoga teacher. And which is sort of half and half teacher and psychologist. And
your students come year after year after year.
Yes. And so this. What you focus on is what you get, and if you focus on not getting it, doesn't matter. What you focus on is what's coming. I think it's very funny. Yes. I hope you share my joy in this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's one who is taking the mic.
I don't think this is funny, but if, say you have someone that you're close to, a family member, and that person is full of anger, and you think, or a person you work with, full of anger, and you think, oh, that person is really harming, for example, can harm other people by that way of using anger against them. You can maybe damage, especially children. and it seemed like a very insurmountable problem. But when you said if we get rid of the idea, if we stop being afraid of suffering, then we can maybe just accept it rather than trying to do something about it, and then maybe something will happen by itself, or the other person will come to a realization without meddling from the outside. It's not very well expressed, but do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I think I do understand. I think this is not like this. I didn't mean to say that you don't do anything. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't say that. What I said is that, the more you focus on that anger, and the more you don't like that anger, the more you have aversion to that anger, the more you will suffer. Yeah? From that anger. I don't necessarily believe that you if you don't focus on that anger, or if you don't kind of react with this anger, he will become less angry. I don't know. I don't think so. It might not. Because somebody angry or not angry is that person. Yeah? And I cannot make him unangry. Nobody can get rid of his kid. If there is somebody who is angry at everybody, or just like that angry because of he sees everybody in the wrong way, I cannot take that away. No, nobody can take that away. No. So therefore, what we have to concentrate on, many times actually it's like this. We are always most people are always looking at this way, that person is doing something wrong, and that person is, and that's why I'm unhappy. Yeah. Yes, lots of people are like that. There are lots of people who are doing very badly. There are lots of things that are not good. That there are lots of things not right. There are lots of injustice. There are lots of problems. There are lots of all these things. If we just look for some way to get rid of all these problems, there's no chance. We cannot. Nobody can get rid of all those problems. Yeah. If this angry man, if you try to push him out of the door, or get him out of the way, another angry man will come, another place next door, or there are lots and lots of angry men. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So instead, what we need to do, of course, if you can get rid of this angry man also, that's okay. That's not a bad thing. If you can, but the more you are, the more you are, what can you say, bothered by that anger, the more you suffer. Yeah? So therefore, if I can somehow bring peace within myself, then it's like solving everybody who is angry for you. Yeah. So we need to practice there. We need to use there, because we cannot get rid of all the angry men. If we can, that's very good, but we cannot. So that's why this is our practice. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah. And this is something, sometimes people like, how much I'm bothered by that angry man or anybody like that really depends a lot on how I kind of react. One simple example is, in Sikkim where I live, there are lots of stray dogs, and they bark all night long. And people coming from here, from the west, don't get sleep at night, and they are so bothered, because the dogs are barking, so they can't sleep. It's really. I live there all the time. I don't hear the dogs barking. It's not that my ear is bad. If I listen, I can hear. But it doesn't disturb my sleep. I don't hear, because I'm not listening. I'm got used to it. I don't mind. Even the dogs are barking all night. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't disturb because I kind of, the dogs, let them bark, It's their business to bark. It's my business to sleep. Kind of, So I can get used to that. Barking dogs. I didn't particularly train for that. But it just, it just happened because it was barking all the time. So, but this is, this is just an example on how, and sometimes, when you are not so annoyed or disturbed by somebody who is kind of angry or upset or disturbing, then because you are less disturbed, you actually sometimes find him less angry. Yeah? If you are more disturbed, you find him more angry. Because I'm sure he is sometimes not angry also. It's same like, some people are very disturbed by, like, walking in the corridor, opening the door, and by some, and then some people less, because they don't focus on that too much.
It's about being compassionate, which means to wish other people well, but also to do something good for other people. And I have a problem here, because it's a dilemma, I think. A dilemma for me, because when I want to be compassionate, I want to help others or say something that might help them or soothe them, then I
also, if that seems to help them, it makes me feel good. So my dilemma is, I wonder, is that why I do it, to feel good myself? Because that is important also, to do sort of the right thing or something that's helpful. So I'm a bit ashamed to think of this and talk about it, because am I helpful to others, or do I want to get that good feeling myself?
I think there's no problem. That's if you do a good thing, there will naturally be a good result for you, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to feel bad about that. If you feel good, why not feel good? You know? Yeah, there's nothing wrong feeling good. You have to do something that's good for others and good for yourself. And compassion is one of those things. You know, good for yourself, good for others. That's why it's called, like a wish-fulfilling jewel. It's helping you, it's helping others. Yeah, you feel good now, and also you did something good. Therefore, it created a good karma, so you will have good future also. Not only feel good now, but you have a very good future, another possible good thing. And then you do good that person. So you have this habit of doing good, so you will keep on doing good. And the more you feel good at doing good things, the more you will do good things. So that will help others more and more, and will help yourself more and more. So good for everybody. That's the good thing, you know. We should wish and do good for everybody, for us. Not they, he, she. You don't need to make yourself suffer. You know, if you feel good, that's very good. You know, that's why I was talking in the beginning that many people sometimes think that, you know, being compassionate is have to think or have to do something good for others and then not good for yourself, you know. Or if you feel good, or if you are doing something, if it is somehow good for you, that's not right. That you have to be guilty. No, that's not right. That's not necessary. You don't have to feel any guilt that you feel good. You have to feel very good that you feel good. Yeah, why not? Yes. There's another.
Thank you. I have a question on physical pain.
On physical pain, yes?
Yes. You said one might make a habit of perception on the bad thing. So could there be a habit of perceive physical pain, and if there is any advice on overcoming it?
Physical pain also, you know, like has a lot to do with the mind also, no? The more you have, you feel bad about the physical pain, the more you feel painful, you know. The less you feel about that bad, the physical pain becomes a little bit more tolerable. Yeah? But of course, for physical pain, you have to take painkillers, or you have to try to do what you can to, to to cure it, to make it better, that this is very important to understand that, if you are practicing, sometimes people feel like that. But if you are practicing dharma or, like this kind of practice, then you should only do that and do nothing else. That's not right. That's not, from the Buddhist point of view, that's not right. You have to do whatever you can to make things better. You should do it, If medicine helps, take medicine. If some other methods help, do that. If some other exercises or healings help, do that. But if you don't, nothing helps, then then you also work on that through your understanding, and at least you try to get rid of your too much fear. Like when you have pain, like physical but mental, whatever, half of the pain is your fear of pain. Yeah? You can see it very clearly when I go to the dentist. When the dentist works on your teeth, it's quite painful, no? And when they ask me, should I use what do you call it? Yeah, the medicine to painless. I said, yes, please. But few times I tested, and didn't use but I said, okay, I just relax. And if I can relax, it's much less painful. Yeah? If I relax really and don't too much focus on that pain and don't too much fear that pain, my pain becomes much less. So also physical pain has something to do with our attitude and our thing. But that doesn't mean that we should not do other things to get rid of our pain. Yeah? Now this is one thing very important, that I've already said, but it's not about getting rid of all the pain. Yeah? We cannot get rid of all the pain, even mental pain and physical. But this is about changing our attitude and our way of looking or, understanding, or our attitude and reaction to that pain. Yeah? So we need to slowly work on. Of course, some great meditators, then they can do without, there are some lamas who had done major operations without any anesthesia. But that's too far for us, I think. Yeah, here. There.
Hello. I have a question. If we have some problems or opportunities, and say we have more of them, can you hear me? If we have more of them, say, either previous examples or how do we decide if I tackle this opportunity or problem, if I decide to practice on this one, say to get to be less attached, or if I practice on this one to say try to find that peasant, for example, like with the princess, try to find that, or try to be the peasant that can try to cure the princess, then you need to spend maybe 2-3 days with the princess and try to cure her. Or maybe, how can I decide if maybe I'm not prepared enough to tackle that problem, and I need to find the right peasant who can actually cure that princess. How do I decide and balance my time, actually? Or should I decide to spend those 2 days on this problem? Or maybe spend 1 day to come to a teaching or do some reading? How do I actually, do you have any advice how to decide actually, how to prioritize?
That's, generally priority is your choice, no? Is what you feel would be most beneficial for you. You should do that, and that you have to think by yourself. It doesn't do any good if I say you should choose this from there, and even if I am right, it's not right for you to do that, because then every time you have to ask somebody, and that's not possible. It's not good also. So you need to work. You need to look. You need to be more responsible for yourself and say, I want to do something that's good for me and good for others. Yeah? And as I told you, this kind of, what I'm telling, all the things that I've been telling, is telling about the thinking process. Yeah? This is how we usually think, and this is, so you have to, I have this problem, that problem, this problem, that problem. So what is most useful at this time for me to do, which is, you should see, and what you can do better, what would be more, because all these things is actually comes to the same thing, that it's about transforming yourself. Now this one thing is very important. It's not about healing the princess. Sometimes people spend too much time on how to do things for others. If you do it for yourself, and if you can work on yourself, that's many times better for you, not only yourself, but also on others. Yeah. As a man, as a training, you must work on yourself more, because that works better afterwards on others also. If you want to do something that's helping others, not training others, but helping others, then you can do that also. But you can do that together. I don't need to I don't need to do nothing to change my attitude. I don't have to sit in my closed room and lock myself up in order to change my attitude. No, I can go and do something like clean somebody's garden and do my attitude also. No, so it's not about time. It's about my discipline. No, how to work on myself. I think this is important also.
this is related to a previous question about doing something helpful for others and feeling good about it yourself.
Yeah.
And you said this is good.
Yes.
And I completely
I think
agree.
it's very good. Huh?
And I completely agree. I think it's very good. But sometimes it makes me question my motivation. Do I do good for others in order to feel good myself? Or do I truly want to help?
Doesn't matter, I think. You know, if I do good things, if I feel good, what's wrong? Yeah, you are what they say. Kill two birds with one stone. That's a wrong kind of way of saying that. Yeah, I think it's very good, and yeah, what? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you. I encountered a practice or situation last winter which I'm very biased about it, and I really don't know what to think about it. It's a lay person. He's a very dedicated Buddhist, and he's actually a teacher. And he suffers Lyme disease. It's a very bad disease.
I know.
And he suffers headaches, and he's afraid of getting crazy. And he refuses to take any kind of medication, not even homeopathic, because he says, out of compassion, he doesn't want to kill those bacteria that are going to kill or at least disable him. And I don't know what to think about this.
I think he's, I don't know. It's not good to judge people too much, but I think he's a little bit crazy.
Similar. Okay, thank you.
But Lyme disease is not very good, but it can be cured, they say, if you take strong medicine. And otherwise it's really very, very bad. Oh yeah? And now you are cured? Oh, that's good. That's good. There's lots of Lyme here. This insect. Okay. It's not in Norway. It is. Okay. Yes?
I was wondering if you could say something about the life story of the third Drupal, because it's incredibly inspiring in terms of transforming suffering into the path. Because he was very, very ill for many years.
Did you read his biography?
Yeah.
Then you tell.
It has helped me because I also suffer from a long-term illness. So maybe it will help others too to hear about his story.
Yes. Well, I mean, there is. I haven't. There is a short story about him. There's no big biography. I have not seen any big biography of him. But this, I think, there could be things, stories about him in English also, some. Nyekchen Khenpo's, that's a short story. There's a short story about. Nyekchen Khenpo wrote a biography of all great masters of Tibet. It's quite a big book. It was 2 books actually, and I haven't read the English translation. I was helping him to write down some of in Tibetan. He used to say it he used to write it down himself in a very bad handwriting, and then needed to be written in printing form. So I was doing that a little bit. Okay, thank you very much.
Siben zonlen dolwan dolwana jo enjambalam bawe jidara manda gundo zambo de yandeji de da gunge jezo dalob jenge wan de dadam je ramdo ngo enge wan de enge wo Sönam yishen zo ne sönam yishe le jongwan damba gunye don bara jo zanye go zo nyembe jinlam na jenye me juro dembe jinlam gende me je dembe jinlam genji darang wa melam do bara jo